To a refined palate, it can be quite the satisfying dish. True, it is an exotic cuisine, but once consumed, it's not easily forgotten. You might even develop a taste for it yourself. The preparation is essential. Injustice adds just a note of the bitter. The merciless blows of fate helps to tenderize. And of course, it must be given time to marinate in delusions of grandeur, giving it such a rich and decadent flavor. Self-righteous faith and religious dogmas will help to bring this dish to a boil. Yes, my children of rot, on tonight's menu is my favorite recipe for tragedy, the creator and long-sufferer of the human condition, mankind. It is often said the quickest way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Well, we're about to find out firsthand. After all, cannibals make for such interesting dinner guests. I'm sure they'll prove it to you, provided they're not too hungry. I had forgot to mention, I set the table for more than just the two of us. Tonight I will introduce you to some of my friends with an oh-so-ravenous appetite. An appetite that could never be satiated. You are what you eat couldn't be farther from the truth. As my guests tonight are far from pedestrian. I'm not one for flattery, but it would be wise for you to extend your compliments to the chef. After all, I didn't spend all day slaving over a hot stove, making sure the first course didn't claw its way out for you to be ungrateful. I hope you're ready for a bellyful, my children of rot. Dark in the dining room, and we shall commence. Paranoia, hallucinations, blackouts, violent mood swings, and aggression are some of the many splendid side effects of drug abuse. In order to cope with the world around them, the addict becomes a slave to their debilitating habit, propelled into a pit of euphoria, while the needle is left swinging from their arm. In that moment, reality retreats, for but a moment, waiting silently for them to lose their grip on the high. Once the pills are swallowed and the pipe is smoked, it's only a matter of time before the next fix is needed. The mind of the junkie is a frightening place. Who knows what they do to stay in their stupor, or what they're capable of while in it. When we imagine the addict, the mind's eye invokes an image of a back-alley denizen shambling from dumpster to dumpster, a skeletal, toothless thing, observing a world we cannot see with glassy, vacant eyes. But with the epidemic of drug abuse escalating, anyone could be a drug-hazed monster, even the young and virile. In May of 2012, 31-year-old Rudy Eugene abandoned his vehicle on the MacArthur Causeway in Miami. Rudy crossed the speeding traffic on foot while stripping nude. He selected his victim at random, a 65-year-old homeless man named Ronald Papo, sleeping beneath the viaduct near Miami Herald. He proceeded to remove the elderly man's pants and began beating him without mercy. Understandably disturbed passerby alerted authorities. Responding officer Jose Ramirez found Rudy covered in Papo's blood. The homeless man's face from the nose up was missing. Rudy had devoured it. Officer Ramirez ordered Rudy to freeze, but he only growled at Ramirez and continued his savage attack. Ramirez shot Rudy once, but it did nothing. It took 4 bullets to bring the hulking man down. Sadly, Ronald Papo was presumed dead by his family for 30-plus years before the incident, having lost contact with him when he became homeless in 1976. It wasn't until he was left blinded and unable to care for himself by a madman that they rediscovered their lost loved one. In August of 2016, the bodybuilding frat boy, Austin Harrouff, can be seen on security cameras walking out in the middle of a family dinner at Duffy's restaurant in Jupiter, Florida. Less than an hour later, a 911 call was made by Jeff Fisher from the neighborhood of Tequesta.
A medical. Young man beating up a woman across the street.
Are either of them injured? Can you tell from where you are?
Yes, there's a girl laying on the ground. He beat her up. I ran over there. I'm bleeding profusely here at the moment.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Can you tell if she's conscious?
No, it does not appear so, no.
Jeff Fisher found Austin Harrouff nude inside his neighbor John Stevens and Michelle Mishkin's open garage, stabbing the couple to death with a broken vodka bottle, scissors, a corkscrew, and a pocket knife. By the time authorities arrived, Austin had chewed off major portions of John Stevens' face and abdomen, and was washing it all down with caustic chemicals he found inside the couple's home. The entire time he was screaming and growling like a madman at police. Austin was tasered, but to no effect. It took a canine dog and 4 officers to bring the cannibal maniac to the ground. While being held down, Austin screamed wildly, "Kill me, I deserve to die, I'm eating people!" Harrouff claims the reason he left the restaurant and ran 4 blocks was to escape a demon named Daniel that had attached itself to him. In the days leading to the attack, Austin had moved his bed to the family's garage, claiming their home was haunted. His mother had also stated that Harrouff claimed to be immortal and part animal. Now, who am I to question that? After waking from his 11-day coma, Austin has claimed to have very little memory of his heinous assault. But in those 11 days, he had dreams he could recall vividly, of being worshipped at a temple as a religious deity. As he awoke, he could hear what he referred to as the voices of monsters, telling him what to do next. The FBI ran DNA tests on Austin, and an autopsy was performed on Rudy. None of these substances were found in their system. However, both did test positive for traces of marijuana. Given that marijuana is still not legal for some bizarre reason, its distribution remains unregulated. Perhaps their weed was laced with something much harder than they suspected. Are they not both from the same area? Autopsy results for Rudy also revealed an unknown pill in his stomach. A pill they could not test for. A pill Austin also could have taken. But since he wasn't dissected on a morgue slab, not yet at least, I don't think we'll ever know. One should be very careful which hearts they decide to break. After all, do you really truly know the object of your affection? Bill Nelson thought he did. Bill was 56, much older than his model bride, Omaima, who was only 23 years old. Despite this, he still had, shall we say, demanding needs he forced Omaima to satisfy. Omaima pleaded with Bill, as this was extremely painful for her. Being from Cairo, Egypt, she was sexually mutilated as a child. But as long as Bill got what he wanted, he didn't care. On Thanksgiving in 1991, Omaima wanted something she too could be thankful for. After Bill forced himself upon her, Omaima plunged a knife into his stomach and caved his perverted head in with a clothing iron. Omaima proceeded to boil his hands, put what was left of his one-track mind in the oven, and castrated his corpse. The pieces that would fit she stuffed into the garbage disposal that neighboring tenants heard buzzing until the next day. The pieces she couldn't fit down the drain, she mixed in with the Thanksgiving turkey. Dear sweet Omaima later confessed to her prison psychiatrist that she barbecued his ribs and proceeded to eat them over the next few days. It seems Bill pushed poor Omaima over the edge, as she's been eligible for parole twice, and has been denied each time. The judge stated his reasoning as, "She is unpredictable and a serious threat to public safety." In 2009, David Vines, a chef for the Time Contemporary Cafe in California, boiled his wife in the restaurant's 55-gallon cauldron. I have listed a link to the Yelp reviews below. It was well known amongst their friends that his wife Dawn Vines had wanted to leave him for a considerable amount of time, so her absence remained unquestioned until he confessed. A confession that didn't happen until October, when Dawn went missing in September. That means the restaurant continued operating and preparing meals for guests with the same equipment he used to dispose of the body, a body that was never found. Some speculate she was boiled into a putrid sludge and poured down the restaurant's grease pit. Others think that she may have been served to unwitting customers as the special of the day. Catherine Knight, a former slaughterhouse employee, murdered, butchered, and cooked her ex-lover to feed to his children. He was prepared with gravy, cabbage, and baked potatoes. A third plate was discovered thrown in the backyard. It is assumed that this is evidence that Catherine tried her own cooking and didn't care for it. There's more than corn in Indiana. Even Hoosiers here in my home state have partook in the delicacy of long pig. Long pig being a Pacific Island term used for human meat prepared for eating. Joseph Oberhensley broke into his ex-girlfriend Tammy Jo Blanton's home. The mangled remains of Tammy were discovered in her bathtub, missing parts of her heart, lungs, and brain. Some of the brain was found later, surrounded by skull fragments, on a bloody plate in her kitchen. The plate was suspiciously close to her microwave. This was far from Joseph's first offense. He shot a prior ex, his mother, and his sister in 1998. We have remarkable law enforcement and wonderful penal systems here in Indiana. After all, how do you think I'm still around? And on that lovely note of getting away with murder, my friend Dr. Otto Seltzem has kindly offered to share a bit of scientific insight where cannibalism is concerned. You may remember him as the proprietor of Seltzem's Funeral Home here in Little Hope, featured in my Funeral Home Scandals episode. Do it, Bugsy. Do it, Bugsy.
This is stupid.
I said do it.
Here he is to put the fun in funeral with the new show segment, The Mortuary Moment. Without further delay, here he is, Dr. Otto Seltzem.
It is a tremendous pleasure to be here tonight. You're looking remarkably well, Mr. Spooky.
Yes, all thanks to you, Dr. Seltz.
I see the spray paint is holding up well.
Yes, thank you.
And the brow lift is still stapled in place?
Yes, yes. Thank you again, Dr. Seltz.
And the tummy tuck?
Dr. Seltzem! I believe we were going to address the subject of cannibals.
I thought I was. No. Well, good evening, you rotten children. I mean, you children of the rot. You may want to go around knocking people in the head and eating their brains after tonight's show, but here is even better food for thought. If you should do that, you may contract the laughing sickness, or what is more commonly known as Kuru. Kuru is a disease first discovered in New Guinea. Though isolated to the area, it is not entirely impossible for this to occur elsewhere. The disease was born from ritual cannibalism. Local tribes would consume dead relatives to help release their spirit to the afterlife. Tissues eaten from the nervous system contained malformed prion protein which infected them. Being the first neurodegenerative disease resulting from an infectious agent. More women and children were infected. The youngest infected was 12. Symptoms include random compulsive laughing or crying, hence the laughing sickness. Behavioral issues, muscle spasming and contortions, dementia and difficulty walking. Ironically, another symptom is the loss of the ability to eat. The incubation period could be as long as 30 years, and there is no cure. Humans are driven by a need for survival, no matter what the cost. In case of famine or lack of food, man has often consumed one another. The Donner Party is a famous example. 5 corpses were eaten by them while stranded in Nevada. Uruguayan Air Force Flight 57 crashed in the Andes in 1972, stranding a rugby team and others who also resorted to eating the corpses, helping 16 of 40 to survive. Russian soldiers skinned and ate their comrades while in the battle. The picture taken by Finnish soldiers shows the aftermath. Check it out! Get it? Check it out?
Yes.
Yes. And on that note, I will bow out. Until next time, children of the rot, remember to analyze and dissect all facets of life. And your friends at Seltsam Funeral Home will be there to clean it up.
Thank you again, Dr. Seltsam. Feel free to join the others in the banquet hall. Just make sure you make it clear that you are a guest and not an appetizer. Of course, there are the more common cases of cannibalism. The oh-so-pathetic Jeffrey Dahmer, the repulsive child killer Albert Fish, and the rancid Sagawa. However, I insist on telling you only obscure true tales here, so those 3 simply won't do for you, my children of rot. No, it's time to introduce my favorite, the ravenous man, the great glutton, Tarrare. Tarrare was born in 1772 in the rural countryside of France. From an early age, it was evident Tarrare was unlike other children, devouring anything he could to try to satisfy the ravenous hunger that dwelled within him. By his teens, he was capable of eating half a cow, amongst other things. His parents soon grew weary of his odd tendencies, and unable to satisfy his ever-growing demands for meat, he was turned loose unwittingly into our world. Tarrare took to traveling sideshows, putting his condition to good use. There he would devour rocks, corks, and baskets of apples. These he ate in a single gulp without chewing. This would have been amusing to the audience were it not for his strange appearance. Despite only weighing 100 pounds, his skin hung off his body in droopy folds. The flesh of his jawbone was deeply wrinkled, making it so that Tarrare could stuff his gaping mouth with upwards of 12 eggs. His mouth was described as a thin slit that barely concealed his teeth. These teeth were stained a dark brown by an unknown origin, and were unnaturally elongated. After consuming his meals, a strange transformation took hold of Tarrare. His stomach would distend hideously, and the wrinkles of his face would smooth. His eyes became crimson red with bloodshot, and a vapor that could be seen by the naked eye rolled from his body. The stench of this said vapor was unbearable. A sick gurgling would echo from somewhere deep inside him for hours after eating, and his jaws made strange swallowing motions at the air. At this time, Tarrare was still sane, as sane as a man could be that devoured living animals. Tarrare enlisted in the army during the War of the First Coalition. After doing all he could for more rations, Tarrare succumbed to exhaustion, landing him in a military hospital. His condition did not go unnoticed, and doctors began to study him. They provided Tarrare with all the food he could eat, and Tarrare still wanted more. This appetite was tested when staff presented Tarrare with a live cat. This cat he tore in half with his teeth. He ate all but the bone, and regurgitated the animal's fur. Tarrare was given more, including snakes, lizards, puppies, and a live eel that he swallowed whole, after crushing its head with his teeth. It was at this time his mental state began to unravel. Despite this, he was used by the military as a spy. Using his curious talent to their advantage, Tarrare was entrusted to eat and then puke back up secret documents. After being captured and nearly hung by the enemy, Tarrare was sent back to the hospital for doctors to seek a cure. It was during these treatments Tarrare was caught drinking the blood of patients undergoing bloodletting and devouring corpses in the hospital's morgue. The majority of the staff insisted he be transferred to an insane asylum, but a doctor determined to relieve Tarrare of his disturbing hunger flat out refused. The matter soon fell out of his hands when a 14-month-old child went missing. Tarrare was immediately thought to be the suspect and was chased from the grounds by an angry mob. The child was never found. There has never been another documented case like that of Tarrare's. So naturally, I enlisted Dr. Seltsom's talents to resurrect our friend for tonight's party. No one, and I do mean no one, denies one of Spooky Brucey's invitations. So come along now, my dear. We could sit here all night and, chew the fat. But it's time we meet our carnivorous guests, as it's midnight sharp. We shouldn't keep them or their bellies waiting. You look a little, underdressed for the occasion. Formal wear, I'm afraid, is mandatory. But given that you and I are such good friends, I'm willing to help. After all, you are the guest of honor. I've recently acquired something in just your size. It's guaranteed to make you the center of attention. Maybe a little flashy, but every cook knows half the dish is presentation. You look like a 40 regular, which is just the right size for the silver platter we polished up just for you. Now, don't worry about what to say to bloodthirsty cannibals. There's no need for small talk. Just put this in your mouth. If they get to know you, that might spoil their appetite. The caterer should be rolling you back any minute. Now, remember me as they roll you by. If you like the show, then please subscribe, as we are now. So you must be. Prepare for death and follow me.